I know you gentlemen, but would you please have me?
Lord, we thank you for this time that we can come and to meet, Lord, and to take care of the city's business, Lord. We just ask, God, that you just give us wisdom and guide us in the decisions that we make, Lord. Lord, just be with us and watch over us for these things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. Okay, first item on the agenda is a public request, and we have had someone sign up to speak, so Ms. Lawson is going to address us at this time. You're ready. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I've never been to a meeting before.
It's okay.
And, but my name's Tracy Slauson, and I think I know one of you guys. And but I was, I'm not a public speaker. Should I stand?
It's easier to hit that way.
Well, no tomatoes, okay? I don't like tomatoes, so if you have softballs or something like that, go right ahead. Hey, Mark. But anyway, I'm coming asking that the council look at some things as far as our community goes, where Parks and Rec and sports are concerned. We have some, what I feel like is not appropriate representation. I'm going to start out with softball because I helped a lot in softball this year and got firsthand look at how unorganized and how chaotic it is. And that there's no governing for it. I mean, as far as everybody that I've asked, what do you do about this? How can you do something about, we've got one person in charge, she's a commissioner. This year we went Dixie, and we had been playing ASA where you did not have to have any type of board or anything to sign up and go places and play. But to go Dixie, we had to have a board. And so our commissioner wrote people's names down more or less and filled the board. She assigned Shelby Zimmerman as secretary-treasurer. She, Donnie White as sponsorship and something else, and I was her assistant commissioner. Several different people she put on her board to fill out the paperwork, send into Austin so that we could play Dixie softball. She never turned anything over to any one of those people. I mean, she assigned Shelby Zimmerman as secretary-treasurer. She couldn't even sign a check to go to Sam's and buy stuff for the concession stand. She's the only one besides Matt McDaniel who was the old commissioner that's on the checking account. When she was told that Parks and Rec needed her financial statement, she called me the night before the Park and Rec meeting, told me that I needed to go down there and tell them that she didn't have it ready. And so I did. And then she later told me that there was $8,700 in the account, and she wasn't going to tell Parks and Rec because she didn't want them to know. Because they'd want her money. And so anyway, personally, I've gone to several of the meetings in Van Alstyne and in Denison, and I've heard the talk of the other commissioners, and we're kind of the laughing stock of softball. And to me, it's embarrassing to me to go and have her representing our town. And I feel like that if there was some type of, if she actually let those people that she assigned play a part, then she wouldn't be a one-man show, and maybe our softball wouldn't be in the mess it's in. I can give you another example. At the end of the year, it was time for All-Stars. We had a team, 13, 15-year-old team, went undefeated, had an awesome team all year long. Her best friend, or her good friend, coached the opposite team. So she made the split. She made a rule that 6 and 6 off each team got to go to All-Stars. So 6 of the girls off of that team got to go to All-Stars. They didn't win a game in the tournament because it made it worse. And I feel like that's a lot of what's going on with the softball thing. It's if you're so-and-so's friend or so-and-so, and I believe if there's a council, like, I mean, we don't have one person running the city. If there was some type of governing body for this, then we wouldn't have that. And I think we're having that in more than just, I think baseball has their own thing, and theirs seems to run smooth. Soccer, I haven't heard many people complain. I've heard people complain about basketball. It's kind of the same situation. There's not anything there. And I was put on Parks and Rec to fill out Dave Innenberg's term. And Parks and Rec still has not had a meeting, and that was back in August or September. And I asked why they're not having meetings, and they said, well, we don't have any money. So there's no reason to have, I mean, they can't do anything as far as the park goes. But I feel like that maybe something still needs to get going there.
All right, well,
But I don't know if you need to assign that to Parks and Rec or what needs to happen, but I feel like something.
we'll take your comments under consideration, and we'll see what we can do. We appreciate you addressing the council. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you. That was the only one that signed up for public requests. So we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, and the departmental reports. Steve, you're up first. If you'll go ahead and give us a report.
Well, everybody knows Randy, the city inspector. He's on contract. Randy messed his back up 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he had back surgery Saturday. Everything went good, and hopefully he's supposed to come back and try to start doing a little bit this next Monday. I don't know how much he can do. But I've been covering his inspections, and I'm really glad we have Randy, because that's like another full-time job right now doing that. And I just want to let you know that he was down and out for a while. Everybody said anything. The next thing I got is we were going through the zoning book and found out we were doing the P&Z application of fees different. Well, I guess we were doing it wrong. Right now we're charging a flat fee of $50 for zoning applications, changes, and specific use permits. And according to our new book, the property owners had to be notified by return receipt mail, which is $3.94 a shot. And me and Dan talked about it. I think what we need to do is to charge a $50 fee, take like 2 business days to look up, see how people we notify, and then charge them the price of postage too, because the last one we did was around about $150 for the mail-out. That was like mailing out 24 letters. So, like I say, we need to know when we missed in the book since we adopted the new book.
Anybody got any questions or anything like that? Steve?
This would have to, the ordinance would have to change it.
Actually, no.
It's covered by the ordinance.
The ordinance allows us to charge fees to cover the cost of the application. And in the past, when we were not required to send them out certified and it was 34 cents a letter, we weren't incurring it. It's gotten to where the advertising and notification eats up the $50. Sometimes it runs a little over, but when you're looking at nearly $4 a letter, we can't incur that. And we're going to try to have, when they make their application, we'll try to get an estimate, look at the maps, and determine how many we'll have to mail out, so they know in advance what fees they'll have to. Within a 2-day period, we should be able to get all their information together and back to them.
Any other questions? Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
All right. No, next there were department reports is committee reports.
The Howe Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring a Christmas in the Park on Sunday, December the 2nd, from 8 o'clock till 9. This is after church. Hot chocolate, coffee, and cookies, local entertainment, the Howe High School Band, Howe Elementary Choir, Joyful Noise Choir, Christmas carols. Santa Claus will arrive by fire truck, and there's going to be lots of fun, and bring your lawn chairs and join the fun. And the park has been decorated with candy canes and lollipops and snowmen and Christmas lights. And thanks to Steve and his crew for helping JC and I. Grayson County Holiday lights. This is a drive-through at Loey Lake Park. The drive goes around Frontier Village, and it starts Friday night, November the 23rd, through Sunday night, December the 30th, from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. nightly. Volunteers from across the county will give out candy as you leave, and if you wish to give a donation, they will be appreciated. There is 49 different light scenes. And this is the first year for it. At the last council meeting on October the 16th, I reported the flu clinic would be the first and second week in November. The health department called me on Thursday, October the 18th, and said they had received the vaccination, and we scheduled the clinic on Monday, October the 22nd. This was a short notice, but the schedule in November, I was afraid the Howe citizens would not get their shots. The health department had an article in the Sherman paper. I had contacted each church, including Dorchester, and they announced it at the Sunday service. And I called several people that had received shots last year, and they passed the word on, and they gave 205 shots.
That it? Okay, thank you very much for those reports. Okay, now we can move on in the agenda to new business. We have the consent items there that are marked, the financial statements, and minutes from the 16th, the 16th of October, 5th of November, and 11th of November. Court report, and then the police department report. If anybody got any questions on any of those as we look through them?
Make a motion, we accept.
Okay, Sam moves, Gary seconds. All in favor? 5-4. Okay, the next item, we were supposed to have a public hearing, but it didn't get posted. So we're gonna have to move on down to the next thing there below that, where it says approved tax roll. So that's where we'll be, to approve the tax roll value of $56,72,134, and the tax levy of $257,65,52. I think there's just a letter in the packet there, somewhere in here. Back in Mr. Ramsey's office, I believe. This one. It's in here because I read it earlier, yes.
Motion to approve tax roll.
Okay, Jerry makes a motion to approve it. We have a second?
Second.
Diane seconds it. All in favor? 5-4, none against. The next thing is to consider revisions of the policies and bylaws for Howe Community Library Project. And again, I think there was something in your packet concerning that as well, the changes that they were wanting to make. Do we have any discussion on this?
Yeah, I wondered that I noticed up here, they made these changes and they have four, I think there's 7 on the board. They have 4.
Composed of 7 members,
It's composed of 7 members.
including the superintendent and the city manager.
And
So-
I wonder which 4 were present on that. Do we know?
No, I don't know.
Myself, Superintendent Sears, Ted Mahler, and Jean Norman, that were present.
And then the second thing I was wondering, the one they added here, it said no elected member of Howe City Council or Howe School Board shall serve on this board. And I just wondered what the reasoning for that was.
Would you like me to answer that?
You're the only one that can, I guess.
Well, Linda Wall, who's also on the board and was not able to be at the meeting last week, said that in the original group that was getting the bylaws, that was discussed to put that in there. And she had a copy of some notes that they had written, and somehow or another it did not get in. and there was some question about why it should not be added. And I believe Dick Britton was the city administrator, and it was his idea because he said he felt it was a conflict for a school board member or a city council member to be on that when the school is represented by the superintendent, the city by the city administrator.
Go ahead.
There's one other thing, I was just curious, and down here on the reporting, where it says we're removing twice a year, such report shall include a listing of each voucher charged to this fund, adding in annual reports. The vouchers, I guess that's expenditures that the board would make?
Well, the board doesn't actually make those. The library director, Mr. Commons, is the one that makes those along with, of course, the school. And it's just so that whatever money is spent, the board is aware of what, you know.
Now, how would this, apparently they're taking that out of because there is a monthly report, right?
Well, we only meet four to five times a year, the board does.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Commons he gets a report of that monthly. And so he's just to report back to the board once a year, and so I believe it's said twice a year. And we felt like once a year would be plenty of time.
But there is a record, there is a paper trail on all expenditures.
Yes.
And that would be available for, obviously.
As far as,
board.
it's public funds, so there's got to be available for funds.
Well, I feel pretty strong about, every organization ought to be accountable for the funds they expend.
Well, all of these funds are audited through the school, when the school is audited.
Okay, so there is a.
There's an accountability,
Okay,
yes.
good. Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to ask. I might add, there's a lot of people in this community, so, we should have a number of people, interested people, to be on the board. Yeah. And we got to make sure we have interested people.
Sure. That's a good point. Okay, any more discussion or any more questions? We need a motion here. We're going to consider revising these policy and bylaws. I assume we need a motion.
Has this been adopted by the school at their board meeting?
The school hasn't met yet since we had the meeting of the library board.
So we're the first. I'll make the motion.
Sam makes a motion that we consider revisions of the policy and bylaws for Howe Community Library Project. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Jerry seconds it. All in favor? 5-4, none against. Okay, early warning system.
Mayor, he called earlier and said he got caught in traffic. He ought to be here just any
All right,
minute.
we'll skip that and go to the next one, if that's okay with the council. Okay, the next one is consider request from Mr. George Severs from Sovereign Grace Baptist Church regarding the community center, and I think Mr. Severs is here, and if you'd like to address the board or the council.
I mentioned our desires last time I was with you all, and I had some other considerations I wanted to lay before you. I have to say we would like that building for first of all a long-term lease, but if not that, my church would be interested in considering the purchase of that building. Now, I know that building was purchased by the city with specific, purposes in mind, and it seems to me like I'm correct, that was about 8 years ago. Is that about right? Something like that. And I just wanted you all to consider whether that building is really fitting the needs which you saw at the time. Another thing I'd like for you to consider is whether the sale of that building could give you all some funds which might enable you to purchase or build something that was more specifically suited to your present needs at this point in time. But in addition to that, I would like to say that I really would like for you all to consider whether it would be a meaningful augmentation to your finances for my church to have a long-term lease on that building. Just about any objection which anybody could make, I could probably say, well, you know, I've thought about that, why I would make that decision, why I'd make that objection if I were sitting on the council. But I believe that, say, a year lease on that building would be very beneficial to my church, and I think it possibly could be financially beneficial to you all. In addition to that, it would provide not only the stability of that extra money or the regular money coming in. I think it's possible that it would be administratively easier for you to handle, to have one entity that would be leasing that building, particularly on a particular day of the week. There was something else that came to mind that just slipped my mind. That happens. Getting to that age. The name of our church is Sovereign Grace Baptist Church of Texoma. It's not Sovereign Grace Baptist Church in Van Alstyne or White Wright or Tom Bean or anything else. And we chose that name because we knew that we were going to be spread out. We only have two families that are homegrown, so to speak. One family is from Howe, and the other family is from Tom Bean. If history proves itself to be a forecaster of future trends, there are going to be people who are going to choose their housing because of where our church is located, wherever that is. And I believe that the kind of people those will be the kind of people who would enrich your community. I don't know why, but we are heavy with professional engineering types. And Sunday, that last week I had a doctor from Sherman who's new in the area from California called me and asked me about the church. And for me to be able to tell people, you take the Howe exit and go a block, is a lot different than me saying, take the Van Alstyne exit and go 6 miles. And that's our current situation. So I'd really appreciate it if you would, I know that your primary concern cannot be the welfare of my church. I know it's got to be the welfare of the city of Howe. And I'd like you to consider whether it would be a benefit for this church, for this city to have another church in the town, for one thing, but to have a situation where a church is drawing the kind of people into the community that I'm talking about, but in addition to that, that the city have those extra funds, whether it be from a regular lease for, say, a period of a year, or whether it be from the sale of the property.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions they'd like to ask? Yes, ma'am.
Why did you think the building was for sale?
I didn't.
Okay, I am the only one on this council that was on the council when the building was purchased.
Yes.
Our community did not have a community center.
Yes.
That building is an asset to the city of Howe.
Yeah.
and the community is very proud of it.
I'm sure they
Now,
are.
this is in no offense
Uh-huh.
to your church or anybody else's church. That when the building was purchased, a group of people worked very hard to purchase the building, to change it from a restaurant to a community center. And it is among the best in Grayson County, or is the best in Grayson County.
I won't.
And we're very proud
Yeah,
of it.
there's no argument about that. I live in near Van Alstyne.
As far as I'm concerned, the building is not for sale. And this is a community center building, not a church building. No offense to your church or anybody else's church. But if you were to rent it on Sundays, that's when most of the family reunions, school reunions, and etc. are held, is on Sunday. And they couldn't be if you had church there. So I will be honest, as far as I'm concerned, the building is not for sale, and it's not to be leased or rented for church services.
Anyone else have any comments or questions or anything like that concerning this?
I believe it's rentable for, what is it,
They can have 2 reservations at a time, and then as those 2 expire, they can rent for 2 more. You can't have more than 2 reservations on the calendar for any given period.
as well as the SNAP Center? What about the SNAP Center? Same thing on the
Yeah.
SNAP Center, so you could, okay. So you could have 4,
No. Well,
2 of the,
that's a question we don't have yet.
oh,
The
I mean, I don't think we're
guidelines
wanting to
indicate you-
preclude the church from being able
No.
to necessarily use it.
No, it just limits them or any other organization. 4-H as an example called this week and said, can you put me down for every Monday, first Monday of the month? And I had to tell them no, I could put them down for this month and next month, and when those expired, they could re-up, but that's where that falls. It doesn't preclude them specifically. It just
Would
limits
it be
their
possible
ability
for
to
my treasurer to ask you a question or make a comment?
Sure.
I would just like to address a couple of your comments because I understand your concerns, but in the case of Sundays, once we would get out, the building would still be available for family reunions or whatever on Sundays. We're not taking up the whole day.
Okay, what time would you get out?
Probably noon.
Well, when you've got a reunion, you're gonna get in there before noon to set up your food and the tables and everything.
Well, I'm just trying to make the point that it's not that we would preclude the use of the building.
Oh,
for
I
those
know
things,
that.
right? And the other thing is that even if, in the case that you might concede to sell the building, we would continue to make it available for the city, for various organizations to use the building, just the same as you do now. We're not trying to usurp the building as a community center just because we would own it. We would still continue to use it, allow the town to use it for the other activities.
But if your church owned it, the city would lose determining who does what in it. Right?
Right. But I'm saying that we would allow, the things that you're doing now to continue.
I can appreciate the fact that you were quite proud of the building. It's an excellent facility, and when you consider how, well, like I said, I'm familiar with Van Alstyne, and they just don't have anything like it.
There's not many in Grayson County like it.
There was a time that we rented the facility up in Denison, and they have a nice, SNAP center, but I haven't seen anything else. And that's been one of the problems for our church as far as renting stuff, There's just nothing available in Van
Okay,
Alstyne.
why did you pick this location? Because of the building is so nice?
Well, that was a large portion of it, because you know, if we were not to buy that piece of property, we're, like any other church, we're gonna have to buy a bare piece of land and do something to it, you know. But it is a nice facility. It was a big turnkey situation, you know. Now, what you have in addition to that building, as far as this community is concerned, is logistics. And this town is bound to boom, because, you know, the idea that you all are 21 miles from McKinney and 9 miles from Sherman, you're just in an excellent location, you know. And that's what appealed to me about the area. And I'll be frank with you, I didn't come out here just looking for the building. I looked on the map, and considering what we needed as far as logistics were concerned, and I was going to look at everything from Howe to Anna. And the closer I got to Van Alstyne, the more willing I'd be to go east and west. But it just so happened that, well, you know what the logistics are. If you're going to start looking in Howe and you're going to start looking around, you're going to drive, if you drive west, there's a building sitting right there, you know. And I looked at it, and it's just an excellent facility.
Any other
I'd
comments or
just
questions?
like to say we appreciate them coming and appreciate the reasoning that you have for wanting a building and
Yeah.
to making it available to people who want to worship. But I from a council point of view, I don't think we're willing to release the property, because then we'd have to buy and build something else of equal value or even greater value.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, I certainly would not be willing to release the property as far as purchasing or selling it. And the other thing is that since it is a community building, community center, we can't disregard other people's need for the building, other citizens' need for the building.
There may be occasions over the year or so that I have a special function in my church and I need a larger facility than I currently have. Would I be able to rent that on a one-time deal for a church thing, like on a Sunday, if it were scheduled in advance and no one else, you know, had it? Can I make myself clear?
Sure you could.
You made yourself
Yeah,
clear.
yeah.
Did I make myself clear a few minutes ago?
Yes,
Okay.
but would I be able to rent it on a one-time basis, like, you know, if I had something come up? This kind of thing would not happen, but maybe once or twice a year, you know. But would the building be available for me in that kind of situation?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Anybody, you know, of course, it could be the resident and non-resident thing.
Yes, I understand.
Of course, you've got some residents here in house, so they can make arrangements.
I just want to reiterate the fact that you've got 2 rentals, followed by another 2 rentals. You could re-rent this one once this one expires, and now tell me if I'm wrong. Of course, you also run the risk, in other words, if you want to do 52 in a row, the risk is that someone can come down here 6 months from now and rent that, which you could not, right? Because you're limited to 2 and 2.
Yeah.
But right now you're, I mean, to me it looks like you would look at an alternate facility.
Yeah.
You know, once week, you know, 1 week out of, you know, a quarter that you might miss it. I mean, I don't know how frequently the facility is rented on both.
It depends on what time of year we're looking at. The summer months are real full, and around the holidays are real full, and then it kind of slacks off the rest of the year.
I'm just trying to be accommodating.
Yeah, I understand. There are some
Throw away a bunch of money
limitations.
to the city.
There are some limitations as far as, you know, meeting in different locations if you're a church. You know, you can understand that. So, but if I were dealing with, for instance, I've got a friend who's a preacher and author from England, and I'd like to get him here on occasion. And that kind of thing would be a one-shot deal, you know, and I make special promotion and advertising for that kind of thing, and it's easy to say, well, Sovereign Grace Baptist Church at this particular Sunday will be meeting at this particular location. But to have a situation where, well, there have been churches that have met in houses and have moved around from house to house, and that just drives me bananas thinking about the logistics of that, you know. I need to have
Well, the one-shot deals, this is perfect for this.
okay,
I mean,
yeah.
I think the way it's set up, it's perfect for
You
you.
know. Well, I appreciate that, and I'll keep that in mind. And, you know, I can understand your concerns. I would have liked to have rented a school building in Van Alstyne, but the Van Alstyne School Board has a policy which makes it impossible for me to do it. But if I were sitting on a school board, I would have made the same policy. It just so happens I'm on the other side of the fence right now, you know. So, but I can understand your situation. But I appreciate the opportunity we might have to rent it on a one-shot deal, you know, whenever something like that would come up.
Okay. Anybody else got anything else? Okay, what do y'all want to do with this? We can take no action, or we can have a motion, or whatever.
Well, you know, from my perspective, you know, who am I to talk, but it doesn't seem like any action is necessary, and you have a policy set in place.
Okay. All right, well then let's move on then.
I appreciate your
Thank you,
time.
thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
both of you coming. Okay, the next thing on the agenda was Price Henry was going to be here, but I don't think he's here, and I think that's been taken care of anyway. So we're there, and the early warning system
Is that him?
might be. The early warning system?
That's
Okay.
just in time.
Just in time. I was looking
Just
for
right.
it.
Barely, just in time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was about ready to say adjourn.
Thank you for your patience. Hand those on now. Next one. This is
Do you mind
Daniel.
introducing yourself to us?
Yes,
please?
hi. My name's Daniel Webb. I'm with American Communications out of Fort Worth. I got together with Steve a couple weeks ago, and he indicated that your city was interested in looking at what it would take to get an outdoor warning system in place. So we put together a quick proposal for you based on FEMA guidelines. And that's what you just got fresh in your hands right now. And just wanted to put that in your hands, let you look over that, and see if I can address any questions or give you any information regarding that. The layout that you're looking at is, like I said, it's based on FEMA guidelines. We're looking at 3 sirens to give the city good redundancy, good sound saturation. Redundancy is really the key in this type of equipment, because we want to make sure that it's going to activate and you're going to be able to hear it throughout the city. What we're proposing is an electronic warning system. The sound producing heads that actually send out the warning tones are a speaker and amplifier type system. And this gives you a lot of versatility with the system. It allows you to send out different types of warning tones to distinguish this from police cars and fire trucks, things like that. All of the equipment that you're looking at is battery powered, so that if it powers out, the warning system will still work for you. And it's also radio control, and we specified for 3 separate control points. There again, more redundancy, so that if one person can't get to a control point or it's disabled, you have other means to activate it. Now that I've given you a second to digest everything.
Well, I see that one of them is in Sam's backyard.
Yeah.
So is this about 200 dB or what is it?
And the other one's in
The other
Gary's
one's-
backyard.
The other one's in Carrie's backyard? Okay.
we have you provide earplugs?
Actually, right in your backyard is one of the best places to have it. There actually is a bit of a shadow under the siren, so you will definitely hear it inside, but no, it will not rattle your eardrums.
All 3 sirens will be activated with one.
Yes. And in fact, it's set up, every siren has its own unique address. For a city this size, it's not that much of a benefit, but for testing purposes, things like that, each siren can be activated individually, or they can be activated all together.
129 dB
At 100 feet.
at 100 feet.
Yeah, that's the rating. That siren has a range of about 6,000 feet.
So
at
what is
70
it?
dB.
What is it at about 50 feet?
Painful.
You jump when it goes off, like the one at Sherman that goes off once a month.
Peel
That's
paint?
where we're at.
Very much
Dislodge
so.
bricks?
How long is this quote good for?
60 days.
60 days? Do we have an early, we have an early warning system right now?
No, I think they took them down.
Did they take them down?
No, we don't have one.
Yeah, we have it called neighbor to neighbor.
Neighbor to neighbor.
I'm in DeSoto calling Daddy, get in the closet, because he had no clue. So yeah, we never really wanted to.
When did they take the sucker down? I haven't heard it for a while.
It's been down.
It's not been here since years. Roy's been here.
I guess we haven't had an emergency.
We don't have any.
We have a similar system to this in place at Grayson County Community College. We got 2 of the
I'll-
identical units.
I'll make a comment here, and I didn't even know this was even gonna be on the agenda until I saw it, but I have received, the last time we had the bad weather, I have received 2 not very nice phone calls about this, and 1 face-to-face, not very nice, about where was our early warning system.
Well, that's what.
We'd be glad to get one, going,
Well, I'm trying to see where we
get
can
some money
put it on the
in.
pole.
But I do, and I know this, again, costs money and all that, but I do think it's something that we really need to seriously consider, and I know we don't have money in the budget, so to speak, right now for it, anything like that, but I do think it's something that the council needs to be aware of, and we need to talk about and discuss, you know, whether it's this type of system or whatever, and I'm not, Jerry's probably a lot more familiar with this than any of us, but, you know, what we need and what's, you know, I
What
don't,
we
you
need and
know.
what we can afford.
Right, sure,
It's been discussed before, Jimmy,
right,
several times.
yeah, I brought it up when I was on the council, about it, but.
Last
yes,
time we
it's
had
been-
someone actually give us a quote, it was 3 sirens again like this.
Mhm.
It was way out left field, a lot higher than this one. I don't know what the difference is, but it
Was it, I think it was at Floyd in Norman, Oklahoma.
is. Yeah.
I've got one of their old deals.
We're Texans, we give you better pricing.
I got one question.
Certainly.
What kind of poles are you put these sirens
I
on?
specified those on wood poles. It's the most economical
Ah.
solution. I can get you anything you want. It just adds money to the project.
Wood racks.
$10,000 more.
If we look at concrete poles, it adds about 4,000 per
I don't want
site, so-
concrete.
You were right.
Concrete and steel are about the same
Yeah.
to add that.
Well, when we were in San Diego, they were testing the siren. It was on one pole, and they had about 8 around the top, and it reached 10 miles.
I'd like to see that siren.
Okay, it's at the Navy base,
Okay. Let me
but
explain.
it's just on one metal pole.
Let me explain something about range calculations. There's a lot of manufacturers that will tell you, you know, that we have these tremendous ranges. The range calculations that you're looking at here are based on FEMA guidelines, and there is a calculation to say how you obtain the perimeter. The perimeter of that circle is based on 70 dB of sound. To put that in perspective, 70 dB is comparable to what I'm speaking to you right now. You know, can this siren be heard 10 miles away? Most likely, but it's going to be around 30 dB. It's going to be less than perceptible. So, like I say, the system that you're looking at, the maximum circles on there, those are based on 70 dB coverage. The inner circle is on 80 dB coverage. that has a little bit better penetration for buildings, things like that. Keeping in mind the system is designed for outdoor warming. And this siren also, it's a rotating head that'll be up on the pole. And that's another, it's an economical thing to be able to project the sound further with less power. So that's how we're able to get the range that we have. Another thing is a siren, if we had a siren rated for 10 miles at 70 dB, the sound output at the pole would be so tremendous that it would actually be, there would be potential for hearing loss. The output of this siren is rated so that it can be mounted a realistic height above grade, which is 50 feet, and keep the sound pressure at ground level around the siren at or below 123 dB, which is supposed to be the threshold for hearing damage.
You say a metal pole or a concrete pole would be about $4,000 each.
$4,000 per site additional. I've got them mounted all different ways. As far as longevity, a penetrated pole will last 25, 30 years, which is about the life expectancy of the equipment.
Yeah, that seems a better way.
Has anybody else got any questions? Dan, you got anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. If you've got my business cards and I'm available for questions anytime, please feel free to contact me. I'd like to help you out with this however we can.
We appreciate you coming by and filling us in on this.
Well, and thank y'all for your time and your patience. Y'all have a nice evening.
Anybody else? Anything? I had mayor communication, okay, projects and events, but that's something that
All right.
we can adjourn if we want to. Anybody got anything else? Let's adjourn. And picture. We got to take a picture before we go anywhere.
Well, get that camera out.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for coming. We are adjourned.
We're gonna put you in the center. Dana, would you take that?